All right, welcome, and thank you for visiting this evening as we call into we go to the 65th regular session of Mayor and Council. This evening, we're going to have the invocation by Council Member Austin Heffernan, and I have asked Jim Clobber if his troop, Boone's Bar Boy Scout Troop 20, could stand and lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance after Council Members Heffernan's invocation. Councilman, please stand and join us.
Heavenly Father, thank you again for the opportunity to be of service this evening to the citizens of Hagerstown. We ask for your guidance in our work and decisions this evening. Clear our hearts and minds, open our eyes to the truth, and grant us the wisdom to take only those actions that will positively improve the lives of all current and future residents of our city. In your honor we pray. Amen.
Amen. All right, guys.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, guys. Some quick announcements. We'll be operating under the rules of procedure adopted by this administration on December 20th, 2016. If you have a cell phone, please mute it or turn it off. Any correspondence for distribution to elected officials should be provided to the city clerk and should include a copy for the city clerk for inclusion in the official record. The next scheduled meeting dates are March the 5th. We have the State of the City at 7 a.m. at Hager Hall. Don't forget, get your tickets. March the 5th at 4 p.m. is a work session. The 12th is a work session at 4 p.m. The 19th a work session at 4 p.m. And then Tuesday, March 26th is the regular session at 7 p.m. Just want to point out that the Boone's Bar Boy Scout Troop 20 are here because they are attending for the citizenship in the Community Merit Badge and are required to identify and study a local issue. The troop met with city staff prior to the meeting to discuss the baseball stadium project. They were all very interested, by the way. We would like to welcome the group this evening and thank them for their interest in Hagerstown. So thank you guys and welcome. Now we have, have a proclamation for Black History Month. Sam, you want to join me? Black History Month, February 2019. Whereas Black History Month is an annual celebration of and a time for recognizing achievements by African Americans in U.S. history. Americans have recognized Black History Month annually since 1926. And whereas the theme for Black History Month in 2019 is Black Migrations, which emphasizes the movement of people of African descent to new destinations and subsequently to new social realities. While inclusive of earlier centuries, this theme focuses especially on the 20th century through today. And whereas Black History Month is a time for all Americans to reflect and celebrate the contributions that African Americans have made in their struggles for freedom and equality, therefore deepening our understanding of our nation's history. Now therefore be it resolved that with the support of the City Council, I, Robert E. Brucci II, Mayor of the City of Hagerstown, Maryland, do hereby proclaim and recognize February 2019 to be Black History Month and encourage all citizens to join us in celebrating the diversity and character of our community and highlighting the importance of sharing our culture, customs, and traditions with those around us. Sam?
Thanks. I thank you for this proclamation and accept it on behalf of the Washington County NAACP. Also thank the mayor and council. And main thing about it, what I plan and our plans are to get a schedule out of the events and different things that we are going to be having. And main thing about it, one of the slogans that it is time. And we will elaborate on that a little later once I have secured a place where we will be able to have our meetings, and I'll be sending letters out and we will keep the city and the council informed. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Everyone get a picture. Hang on.
Good smiles. 1, 2, 3. Okay.
All right, citizen comments. Marvin, you're up first.
Yeah, I'm Marvin Lohr, 1135 Sunnyside Drive. I want to compliment Public Works for the snow removal on the streets this past winter. I think they've done a pretty daggone good job. Also concerned about the fire department being shorthanded, and I'm concerned about the police department being shorthanded. And I talked to the chief, and he was telling me some of the things about the police department, but apparently guys need a raise to get more recruits in. And I don't work for the union either, so. The trash code, going over this with you guys for years. Lou, you're the lawyer. If you leave out a big chunk of your trash code, is the rest of the code gone too? So how do you know which one you enforce and don't enforce? And who would care?
Are you asking me?
I asking.
Well, you're asking one who you know my opinion. My opinion is that we have a code that is unenforceable.
I can't understand you.
My opinion is we have a code that is unenforceable. I'm
Can
just
we-
one person, though.
Can we change it to make a code you can enforce?
I'd be happy to.
Well, we've had it on the books for over, what, 4 years? I had a council member send me a note a while back and said they would take care of the trash problem. Not to mention any names, but it didn't happen. I had a tenant complain today about the trash all over the place, and she tries to keep her area nice and clean. So I don't understand what the holdup is. So another thing, also been bringing up about the sales tax exemption, and don't have much response for that. But there is a Maryland sales tax exemption certificate. Also, 1 week in August, you have sales tax exemption. You also have a sales tax exemption 3 days in February for Energy Star products and on solar water heaters. So I don't know why you couldn't work with the state to do like a 3x4 block area downtown to make it exempt from sales tax for a number of years until you can get your city back on its feet. The dual highway seems to be doing all right. Eastern Boulevard seems to be doing all right. Wetzel Boulevard seems to be doing all right. But poor old downtown is suffering. And I think with some imagination and get your state representatives in Annapolis to work with us, we could do something. I think an exemption on sales tax would bring a lot of people in this area. The people just outside of the area would complain, but they would get traffic they're not getting now, so they should be an improvement for them. Now, my son and I have been talking about, we have some property in the town, and one of his sayings is, this place has some good bones, but you got a lot of vacant buildings. You got boarded up buildings. You've been tearing buildings down, and you've been losing tax because of it. You could get the buildings back in shape, and with the sales tax, you wouldn't have the government funding it. Private enterprise would be funding it to bring people in. What do you think, Bob?
I think that's a conversation that we should be having with with Peter Francho.
I got to start with you guys first. You have to request it, then it goes to the state, and then the representatives here, and then it goes down to Annapolis.
I'll have a conversation with Paul Quarterman about it.
I've talked to a couple of them. I've talked to a couple of previous business owners downtown, and they would consider coming back downtown if we could have something decent. I have not met one business person that did not think the sales tax exemption was a good idea. Wasn't a good idea. They all thought it was a great idea.
Well, just so you know, I don't care if we have a sales tax exemption or not, because the city doesn't get anything from sales tax.
But
So-
you care about downtown.
Oh, yeah, but I'm saying
Okay.
that, so
But I'm saying-
to have an exemption doesn't ruffle my feathers one way or the other.
But if it brought people into your downtown, it would
if
make a
it-
big
if-
difference. And,
If it did, yes.
yeah, and it would cost the state nothing except a few pennies that they get from sales tax downtown now. Should be a win-win for everybody. Thank you for listening.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Jimmy Devine.
Good evening, James Devine, Post Office Box 2217, Hagerstown, Maryland. Good evening, Mayor and members of the City Council. I come to speak on a little variety of issues. As far as the annexation goes, the city always has to annex property in order to expand its tax base, in order to expand its services. So, you know, maybe next time they could annex all of Washington County. but no, they do have to annex. I came on, and then I also like to suggest that any new homes that would be built in the city that would require solar be put on that home. You know, I know it's expensive at the beginning of a project, but overall something like this would pay out and it would benefit the community. I think it would be better house prices, and it would conserve energy. Next subject would be the signal down behind South High. They have that signal down here at the district courthouse. It's solar controlled, and I cannot see why there is not a signal like that put out the back of South High on Downsville Pike, because it's not only an exit for the children coming out, it's an exit for the buses. So you know, there should be like a remote control set on each side of the road out there for the students and the buses. And then I think the air raid siren out in the south end of town at the city equipment company on Memorial Boulevard, does that siren still work? Anybody? You ever hear an air raid siren go off?
Eric Dykey says, no, it doesn't work.
It doesn't exist anymore. All those sirens were removed.
They were removed?
Yes.
That one isn't out there no? That one's not out there no more?
That's correct. It's
Oh,
not
wow.
out there.
You know where they're at?
But I've do some research on that.
No, my suggestion was that in Elliott City, down in Baltimore, they're trying to determine what type of siren that they would want. I thought that an air raid siren would be an excellent choice, you know, to alert the people down there. Because when this thing goes off, you can hear it forever. But anyways, that's why I was asking about the air raid siren. I didn't know it was removed or non-functional anymore. And the last subject I would like to talk about is the minimum wage increase. I think the comments by Senator Serafini is an insult to the working people. You know, he's arguing about the $15 an hour wage, which is a living wage, you know, and they try to argue, well, this is a starting wage and it shouldn't be a living wage, you know. I hope the voters, you know, consider it the next time they vote on him, because if you're getting paid $15 an hour, you get $450 of it. 4 weeks, you get $1,800. Out of that, you got to take $600 in rent, $400 in food, $200 in gas just to get back and forth to work, electric utilities. What that allows you is $100 a week to spend. Now, Seth Freegan, he said, maybe that's not right. Maybe you should just have $50 a week to spend. You work all month and you have $50 a week to spend compared to the 100. And you know, as far as the minimum wage and the 15, that's the difference. That's the difference. It's not a starting wage, it's a living wage. And why he would oppose something like that is beyond me. But I have a suggestion. Since he thinks this area is a lower wage, let him give back half of his wages that he receives as legislators, and let him see how that's what he's asking for the workers in the area to do, and not suggest that he do it first. So anyways, that's for somebody that would represent, and that's why the flood of people leave this area and go down the road every day to work, because of the wages. And keeping the wages higher in this area would keep more of the people in this area working. So that's my comment on it. Thank you.
Thank you, Jimmy. All right, those are the only two individuals signed up to speak tonight. Is there anybody else who wishes to speak? If you do, step up to the microphone. Okay. City Administrator's comments, please.
Yes, sir. Just three short items. I was able to attend the reception at the Engine Room Saturday evening, showcasing the art of Thomas Dade. I appreciate the city efforts on behalf of the arts. It was great to see the number of attendees out on a rainy night who were actually there. So kudos to all of those that were a part of that. To Wendy Nussbaum, who served the city very well in her capacity as the Director of Human Resources. We'd like to thank her and congratulate her as she transitions into her next employment adventure. Thank you very much, Wendy. And finally, to reiterate what the mayor said, the State of the City is March 5th at 7 a.m. at Hager Hall. Thanks to Wes and Eric for their specific expertise in putting that together, to elected officials, city staff, and to our local residents who are part of it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mike. Mr. Alshire?
I have nothing this evening.
Mr. Heffernan?
I'd just like to thank the Museum of Fine Arts for their reception this afternoon and an extremely impressive financial report that they delivered on the status of the museum, and wanted to just reiterate how fortunate we are to have this museum in our backyard, open to all of our residents for free. And we're truly blessed to have this organization here. So I want to thank them for all they do.
Ms. Keller?
Good evening. I just want to say that February kind of felt like the month of meetings, which isn't normally a good thing, when you're back to back to back to back. But this month felt different. I had meetings a lot with different staff here within the city, within the county, and with different organizations like the museum and whatnot. And I'm leaving February feeling very motivated about the direction of the city. Mike, I thank you for taking the lead on a lot of these issues, but I can feel the tide turning. I think we all agree with that. And I just want to say thank you to everyone who's pushing the city forward and working with all these different organizations to get us all on a positive path. I appreciate it, and I know everyone up here does as well.
Ms. Benson?
Nothing, right, thank you.
Ms. McIntyre?
Just a couple of things. Mr. Lohr, I'm the one that wrote the letter, so thank you for acknowledging that, even though you didn't say my name. But because I've only been in office for a year, it takes a lot of work and a lot of time to make changes. But I'm not sure if you know that I actually introduced a concept that has been titled the Bridge to Change, which is where the homeless population will be paid by the city grant funds. They're working on an application process to help clean up the trash, and that was the idea that I had come up with. So there are efforts, and it's not a code change, but I've heard you loud and clear since, practically every month that we've sat up here and you've been able to do citizen comments, and I fully support, cleaning the city and trying to come up with creative ways to make that work. So I am working on it, I promise. I promised you in the letter. So, and I think that you'll hear more about that program, and hopefully you'll see some positive reaction from it.
I'll talk to you later, and I might have an addition you can use.
Okay, fair enough. And the second thing, Emily and I, one of the first things that was mentioned to me whenever I first got appointed was called a 2+2 meeting between the county and the city. And thanks to Mr. Spiker and Rob Slocum, Emily and I have the first meeting since 2005 between 2 council members and 2 county commissioners. So Mr. Meinelschmidt and Mr. Wagner will be meeting with the female representation from the city. So I'm really looking forward to it, and thank you very much for, they better look out, right, Emily?
Yes, absolutely.
That's right.
We're coming locked
That's
and
right.
loaded.
Yep, we're ready. Anyway, I think that's awesome.
And Kristen and I are happy to give that up.
No, you're next. They're next. That's it. Thank you.
Okay, mine's very short. I just wanted to remind those out in the community who are looking that tomorrow evening from 5 to 7 p.m. at the library, Procter & Gamble will be holding a job fair. Go down, check it out. Jimmy, you'll be happy to know starting wage is $17 an hour. And after you're there for over a year, it moves over 20. So definitely a living wage. But anybody who's looking, please take the opportunity tomorrow evening, go down to the library between 5 and 7 p.m., meet with representatives from Procter & Gamble, and I can guarantee you that they are looking for qualified, good employees who want to make a change in their life. So please, take advantage of this opportunity.
Mr. Mayor, am I correct that yard waste pickup begins this week? Is that right? Does anybody
Yeah,
know?
yard waste does start back up. Yeah, this week. Yep.
Yeah, 'cause we
Yeah.
have a bunch of people with sticks and
Saw the email from Wes. He put out a press release. Yep.
I think you just did.
All right, moving on. Adoption of the minutes of January 8th, 15th, 16th, 22nd, and the 29th.
Mr. Mayor, hereby move for the approval of minutes as presented for the mayor and council meetings held on January 8, 15, 16, 22, 29, all 2019.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Consent agenda?
Mr. Mayor, hereby move that all the consent agenda be approved as presented.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Adoption of an annexation resolution.
I think we skipped one.
Yeah.
Did
Yep.
I?
Yes,
Oh,
sir.
wait a minute, wait a minute.
Police and fire.
Approval of an ordinance for changes in the City of Hagerstown Police and Fire Employees Retirement Plan, Amendment 13 to the plan.
Mr. Mayor, I hereby move to approve the ordinance for the following changes to the Police and Fire Retirement Plan effective March 28, 2019. Number 1, add to the definition of covered employee the job classifications police officer trainee and police cadet. Number 2, job classifications of police officer trainee and police cadet will not be eligible for the line of duty disability until they become a sworn officer.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Carries. Okay, adoption of an annexation resolution, Foggy Bottom Farm and other lands.
Go ahead.
Good.
Mr. Mayor, we move the mayor and city council adopt an annexation resolution for an annexation known as the Foggy Bottom Farm and other lands for 3 properties located between Antietam Creek and Yale Drive. The portion of property to be annexed is approximately 101.03 acres in size and is intended to be added to and made part of the adjacent municipal lands.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Carries. Adoption of an annexation resolution.
Mr. Mayor, I hereby move that the mayor and city council adopt an annexation resolution known as Antietam Creek Bed Annexation. The portion of property to be annexed is approximately 1.47 acres in size and is intended to be added to and made part of the adjacent municipal lands for the purpose of creating logical and regular municipal boundaries in conjunction with the annexation of adjacent lands incorporated into the city through case number A-2018-01.
Second.
Discussion?
Just 2 comments, Mr. Mayor. The first is, I would hope that it will be shown this evening. You know, I think there's been sort of this long-held belief that has existed between the city and county within this broader community of sort of, you know, the bad associated with annexation and growth of municipalities. You know, we've seen that for at least as long as I've been in office. From time to time, rear its head, and I think that this shows two things. One is that we were able to work out those agreements with the county here earlier this evening with the metrics of infrastructure, ownership and responsibility and transfer, without the, any huge issues that folks sort of often, put out there with fear. And the other is we're not doing this in any manner that could be deemed sort of a hostile takeover of those urban responsibilities or private property right usage, just a simple change in jurisdictional boundary. Development, growth, infrastructure, all of those things are going to happen just the same. Regardless, it just provides greater strength and stability to the urban core of the county, just as every municipality does within its urban growth area boundaries of all 9 municipalities in the county. And so I'm glad to see us move forward with this and dispel some of those myths.
Anybody else? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Introduction of an ordinance repealing Chapter 189, Public Utility Licenses of the City Code.
Mr. Mayor, I hereby move for the introduction of an ordinance to increase the unit cost of water rates by 3% per year for inside city customers and 3% per year for customers outside of the city over the next 5 fiscal.
No, show
Oh,
it, show it,
what?
show it.
What'd I do? That's what I have.
You're right, the mayor was wrong.
What? Oh, no, I'm wrong. Scratch that.
Yeah.
Erase that, Donna. Okay. Mr. Mayor, I hereby move for the mayor and council to introduce an ordinance to repeal Chapter 189, Public Utility, am I on the right one?
Yep.
Public
Yes, you
utility.
are.
Okay. Public utility licenses of the city code. Future license fee collection shall cease upon the effective date of this ordinance.
Yes. Second.
Good thing you second that one, Lou. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Don't let Shelley read anymore.
Sorry. The paper clips got stuck where the staples.
All right, introduction of an ordinance to increase sewer rates.
I'm not reading it.
Mr. Mayor, have been moved for the introduction of an ordinance to increase the unit cost of water rates by 3% per year for inside city customers and 3% per year for customers outside of the city over the next 5 fiscal years. These rate increases are necessary to meet the revenue requirements of the water fund in order to keep the fund self-supporting, as determined by the recently completed cost of service study prepared for the city by the Municipal Financial Services Group. The detailed individual rate changes in the volume charges and fixed charges by meter size are indicated by fiscal year in the body of the ordinance. The increased rate shall be effective for all bills rendered on or after July 1, 2019, and for all bills rendered on or after July 1st of each of the subsequent 4 fiscal years.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Introduction of an ordinance to increase water rates.
Mr. Mayor, we move for the introduction of an ordinance to increase the unit cost of wastewater rates, should be water rates, by 2% per year for inside city customers and 2% per year for customers outside of the city over the next 5 fiscal years. These rate increases are necessary to meet the revenue requirements of the water fund in order to keep the fund self-supporting as determined by the recently completed cost of service study prepared for the city by the Municipal Financial Services Group. The detailed individual rate changes in the volume charges and fixed charges by meter size are indicated by fiscal year in the body of the ordinance. The increased rates shall be effective for all bills rendered on or after July 1, 2019, and for all bills rendered on or after July 1st of each of the subsequent 4 fiscal years.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries.
I'm sorry, sir. If you might add one point, the headings on each of the last 2 motions were transposed. Speaking with council, we're fine with the ordinances they were read. We just need to make a notation that each heading should be transposed. Water should be with the water and wastewater on water.
Well, I won't sign it until they're correct, so.
Thank you, sir.
Approval of a parking lease for the University District parking deck with the state of Maryland.
Mr. Mayor, I hereby move for the approval of a resolution to approve a parking lease agreement between the City of Hagerstown and the State of Maryland for the rental of 9 parking spaces in the University District parking deck for use by the Department of Juvenile Services and the Department of Education Division of Rehabilitation Services. The term of the lease is 2 years and commences on March 1st, 2019. The annual rent to be paid to the city is $6,912.00.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. All right, approval of a lease agreement for 25 East Franklin Street with WLR Residential Properties, Inc.
Mr. Mayor, I hereby move for mayor and council approval of a resolution to enter into a lease agreement with WLR Residential Properties, Inc. for office space at 25 East Franklin Street. The lease period shall begin on or about March 1st, 2019. A copy of the lease agreement is attached hereto for reference.
Second.
Discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Approval of a resolution addendum to the lease agreement for the City of Hagerstown property located 11850 Indian Lane, Hagerstown, Maryland.
Mr. Mayor, hereby move for the mayor and city council to approve the attached resolution authorizing the addendum of a lease agreement at the City of Hagerstown property located at 11850 Indian Lane in Hagerstown, Maryland. The addendum extends the lease for an additional 6 months and includes minor additional changes to the lease terms.
Second.
Discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Approval of resolution, termination of a lease agreement with the business known as Mulchman for a portion of the City of Hagerstown property located at 931 Eldridge Drive, Hagerstown, Maryland.
Mr. Mayor, I hereby move that mayor and city council approve the attached resolution authorizing the termination of a lease agreement with a business known as the Mulch Man for a portion of the City of Hagerstown property located at 931 Eldridge Drive in Hagerstown, Maryland. The lease will be terminated between the City of Hagerstown and the Mulch Man LLC effective immediately upon approval.
Second.
Discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Approval of a ground space lease agreement with T-Mobile USA, Inc. for space on existing monopole tower at the Hagerstown Police Headquarters on North Barnhams Boulevard.
Mr. Mayor, hereby move for approval of a ground lease agreement with T-Mobile USA Incorporated to lease ground space on the monopole tower at Hagerstown Police Headquarters on North Barnhams Boulevard. The ground space lease is for an initial 5-year period at the rate of $2,700 per month with 4 additional 5-year renewal periods. The renewal rents will be at a rate to be adjusted 3% per year on the anniversary of the commencement date over the previous year's rent.
Second.
Discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Approval of an exemption to the water and wastewater policy in order to supply water service to 9238 Sharpsburg Pike, Hagerstown, Maryland.
Mr. Mayor, I hereby move that the mayor and city council approve an exemption to the water and wastewater policy under Exemption 10, Facility for Essential Public Service to supply water service to 9238 Sharpsburg Pike, map 0062, parcel 0059, plat M683. Property consists of 49.29 acres and will be used for the construction of a public safety training facility.
Second.
Discussion.
I would just note my comments previously stated for being opposed to this. I am by no means opposed to the intended use of this property for the public safety training facility. I think it is a needed thing. However, we've established a policy for extension of city facilities, including water and sewer, that is defined largely by the urban area that we have allocated our capability to serve. And in this instance, if we are going to expand that boundary in one area, then we should be required to shrink it in another area so that we can continue to allocate correctly the amount of space that we believe we can serve versus continuing to provide exemptions to that and extending it further and further out without any view of the impact it has on our ability to serve the remaining area within the UGA.
Anybody else? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
Motion carries 4-1. Approval of creation of a third deputy fire marshal position, Hagerstown Fire Department.
Mr. Mayor, I hereby move for the mayor and council to approve the addition of one full-time deputy fire marshal position. This position is necessary to relieve the exempt fire marshal from regular on-call duties and return the position to program management. The requested position has the support of the HFD, HR, finance, and city administrator. This would eventually lead to the hiring of another person, but not until the selected candidate successfully completed the police academy. It's estimated this position addition would only impact 7 months of fiscal year 20. It's anticipated that the cost related to this position will be included in the general fund's FY20 proposed budget. This action is consistent with the city's vision and commitment to public safety, prompt customer service, and 100% determination of origin and cause for structure fires. It will also permit enhanced opportunities to help planning and code compliance with remediation of buildings that are a safety threat to the public.
Second.
Discussion?
I just want to thank Fire Marshal DeHaven for your dedication to the city. I think the Herald Mail article that said they called on your day off and you answered the phone spoke volumes, but we appreciate how dedicated you've been. Thank you.
Anybody else? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Approval of inductees to the Hagerstown Circle Achievement and Memorial Park for 2019 and approval of date for the annual induction ceremony for 2019.
Mr. Mayor, based upon the recommendations forwarded to the mayor and council by the Circle of Achievement Inductee Review Committee pursuant to compliance with criteria for candidacy established by the mayor and council on May 27, 2014, and subsequently amended, I move the following persons be inducted into the Hagerstown Circle of Achievement at Memorial Park for the class of 2019, listed in alphabetical order: Mrs. Florence Wall, McMichael Myers McCoy, and Mrs. Ann Carroll Fitzhugh Smith, with the thanks of a grateful city, in accordance with the policy adopted by Mayor and City Council of Hagerstown, which determined the annual induction ceremony for the Circle of Achievement shall occur during the weekend before Memorial Day weekend each May, unless altered by the Mayor and Council. I move that the ceremony for 2019 shall occur on the morning of Saturday, May 18, 2019, at Memorial Park.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Carries. Approval of 2-year contract of annual financial and single audits.
Mr. Mayor, we move the mayor and council to authorize and approve a 2-year agreement for the city's annual financial audit with SB and Company LLC. The city is going to piggyback for 2 years only the county's awarded audit contract for audit services from SB and Company LLC. This 2-year contract would be for the completion of the FY19 and FY20 financial audit, which includes the single audit. The cost to perform the FY19 and FY20 would remain the same at $42,225 for each year.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Approval of an increase in the agency contribution to the Hagerstown Neighborhood Development Partnership, Inc., HNDP.
Mr. Mayor, I hereby move for the mayor and city council to approve an increase in the agency contribution for the Hagerstown Neighborhood Development Partnership, HNDP, in the amount of $500 per month beginning March 1st, 2019 for 12 months, and will be funding an FY19 from unspecified agency contributions. This amount would increase the agency contribution by $2,000 in FY19 and $4,000 for FY20. It is anticipated that additional general fund agency contribution funding will be included in the FY20 proposed budget. The city's additional contribution is contingent upon HNDP leasing space at 21-23 East Franklin Street.
Second.
Give that to Lou. Discussion?
I just want to say on behalf of Morgan Plummer and the rest of the HNDP board that they're very appreciative of this. So thank you.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Memorandum of Understanding, support of the Washington County Adult Drug Court.
Mr. Mayor, I hereby move for mayor and council approval of a memorandum of understanding in support of the Washington County Adult Drug Court. This MOU establishes the Hagerstown Police Department's agreement to work in cooperation with the other parties within the drug treatment court to follow 10 key components as adopted from defining drug courts, the key components. There is no funding component associated with this MOU.
Second.
Mr. Alston. Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Approval of street closures, USMH Spirit Run 5K.
Mr. Mayor, I move for mayor and council approval of street closures for the USMH Spirit Run 5K on Saturday, June 1, 2019, from 8 a.m. to 12 p.m.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Approval of lease, Somerset Fire Alarm and Security LLC for office space located at 14 North Potomac Street, Suite 200C.
Mr. Mayor, we move the mayor and city council to authorize the mayor and city attorney to finalize and execute the attached lease agreement with the city of Hagerstown and Somerset Fire Alarm and Security LLC for office space located at 14 North Potomac Street, Suite 200C.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. We're adjourned. Thank you.